Hi, everybody. Welcome to Eagle Point Funding. We're giving a short webinar. This shouldn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes on a new broad agency announcement which has been put out by the Department of Energy. And we're going to touch upon this particular opportunity as it touches across a number of relating fields within advanced vehicle technology. The reason that we are focusing and honing in on this particular broad agency announcement is because of the small window that we have to take advantage of this opportunity. The size of the funding is big. The scale of opportunity is very big, and the ability to help your company along with the R&D is similarly large. What isn't large is the window that you have to actually approach this opportunity, and therefore we're going to be discussing it today in depth.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
We're going to discuss it in depth as we go across a number of different topics. So I'm Josh Baron. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Eagle Point Funding. We'll talk a little bit later on about Eagle Point in a second. Just as an overview, we help companies in their search for non-dilutive funding opportunities, specifically in the form of federal grants for R&D. So if we look at the federal budget, and we're just going to skim through this for a second, we see that at the March 23rd, 2018 budget came out, and it was over $20 billion more than it was expected to be at $176.8 billion in 2018 alone for R&D. The primary mechanisms we know are broad agency announcements as well as other similar mechanisms, whereas SBIR, which is the common type of grants that most of us know, is actually a very small chunk of the grant opportunities out there. Grants, as opposed to venture capital, are non-dilutive, meaning there's no equity transfer and there's no outside interference with additional advisors or additional board members. And the researchers are encouraged to keep their IP under their name. The government's interest is to advance technology as a whole, to use the technology when it's relevant for them in the form of federal contracts, which are the right of the researcher to accept or not to accept. So you don't have to accept the government as a client should they want to work with you, but it's an incredible client to have. And they also see an ROI of $2.30 for every dollar they invest, so it's a worthwhile investment for them, even if they're not going to turn it into a contract. We know that grants can be leveraged in the private sector as well as in the form of contracts long-term with the government, but that's not a topic today. Our topic today is a specific broad agency announcement by the U.S. Department of Energy. This agency announcement is $68.5 million, which is dispersed over a number of topics. The people who are eligible for this particular grant are individuals that are U.S. citizens or permanent residents. For domestic entities, they need to be for-profit or educational institutions or nonprofits in the event that they're incorporated. Foreign entities can apply for this particular grant, but they have to have a U.S. They have to either be U.S. incorporated themselves or have a sister part or a partner which they can use as the primary recipient and turn themselves into the subrecipient in the event that that primary recipient is a domestic company. Approaching deadlines. We mentioned this. This particular grant was posted on May 1st, 2018. Typically, broad agency announcements are open for a number of years, but this one is very to the point. They're looking for the technologies and they know what they want and they want to use that money now and not over a 4-year period. And therefore, the pre-proposal is due, which is a short summary of what you are intending to research, by May 29th. And the full proposal is due by July 13th, 2018, which in between May 29th and July 13th, the federal agency will give back an answer around mid-June. So there will be a month to actually compose the full proposal. We help companies both in the pre-proposal stage of getting together in time with a short window that we have in front of us of just 2 weeks. We also help companies write a compelling full proposal. In order to be accepted for a full proposal, you have to first pass the pre-proposal, and that's why they're split up into 2 different sections. Let's take a look at the first topic, and this is the topic we're going to be focusing on at length. We're also going to mention the other topics, but as a number of you asked that we speak about specifically the batteries and electrification, we're going to go into depth here, and we're going to touch upon the other topics as well. So what do we see? First of all, we know that that in general, vehicles, to quote the Department of Energy, move our national economy. Annually, vehicles transport $11 billion tons of freight, which is more than $35 billion worth of goods each day. And so growing our economy requires transportation, and transportation requires energy. The average U.S. household spends nearly 1/5 of its total family expenditures on transportation, making it the most expensive spending category after housing. So you can see that the federal government and here the Department of Energy is looking at energy solutions as also as an environmental answer, but also as a financial or an economic. And we know that the transportation sector now accounts for 70% of the U.S. petroleum use. And so therefore, it's not surprising that they want to invest in advanced vehicle technologies such as batteries and electrification. Let's take a look at the different opportunities here. Here we see that one interest is the developing of a low cobalt active or cathode materials for next generation Li-ion batteries. Specifically, we're looking for Li-ion or lithium-ion batteries, which are the more common ones, as well as cobalt, which we know are poisonous and more rare. So it's an interest in reducing the use of cobalt in the favor of a more environmentally friendly solution. We see that the anticipated minimum for this award is $1,500,000 to cover the R&D expenses. But if the budget of the company applying for this award is justified for being larger than that, then this award is up to $2,500,000. The total appropriated funds for this topic is nearly $12 million, which means there are multiple awards that are to be had here. The second topic is plug-in electric drive, vehicle extreme fast charging research. Here, the interest is to develop a faster charging option to be almost as quick as regular refueling of a car. The anticipated minimum here is double the previous low cobalt active bid at $3 million, and the max award is $5 million. You see they're expecting to give anywhere between 3 to 2 awards depending on the size of the grant. Moving on, we have plug-in, we mentioned the plug-in, electric vehicle charging infrastructure cybersecurity. We know today that all charging infrastructure is based on computers, and thus they are vulnerable to cyber attacks, and the government is interested in investing in solutions which are going to prevent those attacks. The expected minimum here is $1 million, and the max is $2.5 million. It's also worth noting that while the previous 2 topics are for periods of around 2 years, it's expected the cybersecurity will be a faster solution and is therefore available from 1 to 2 years worth of funding. Moving on to the next topic, which is in the world of materials. Here we're talking about predictive modeling of corrosion in dissimilar material joints. Minimum award $1 million, max is $1.5 million. Here's just creating models for the effects of corrosion using 2 different materials and machine joints. It's very clear what they want here. We also have the modeling of corrosion and oxidation of materials in high temperature engines. Here the awards are the same, $1 million minimum, and max is $1.5 million, and they are looking to give it anywhere between 3 and 2 awards. This one's very interesting. Technology integration. We have high performance computing for transportation hubs. Is a very hefty award here between 2 and 5 million. First and last mile for people goods movement. This is data analysis, modeling, and similar topics for the first or last mile of traffic. And that means we're modeling for energy costs, congestion, goods, and people movement. We also have system level data for energy efficient mobility. Minimum here is $500,000. Max is here is $1 million, where we're talking about high resolution or large scale data modeling and analysis for energy use in the field of mobility. We also have fuel efficient platooning, which is research and tech in the field of grouping of vehicles. We see here that this is also a more hefty award, $2 million to $5 million. And then we also have multi-unit dwelling and curbside residential charging infrastructure innovations. So again, we have with the charging space, 1 million to 1.5. And the open topic, which I bolded here at the bottom to show that there's also a space for open topic. This is typical to see in the concept of broad agency announcement, where the government is looking for a topic which talks about advanced technology for vehicles, which maybe they don't know of yet, and they don't want to limit themselves. So you see this open topic is also available. So if you don't find yourself in any of the other opportunities, this one might be relevant for you. We also have off-road R&D, which is energy efficient commercial off-road vehicles, which is pretty self-explanatory. Moving on, we have co-optimization of engines and fuels. This is multi-mode optimized fuel engine system. You can see the award minimum here is 1.5 million, max is 3. And we have bio blend stocks to optimize mixing controlled compression ignition engines. Here we're talking about medium and heavy duty vehicles and the focus here is reducing the engine out emissions while also improving efficiency. So as you see, we've talked about a number of topics which are all in the space of advanced vehicle technology. It's very diverse. You can see cybersecurity pops up here, which is not surprising when you consider the ramifications of advanced vehicle technologies. A little bit about us and where we're coming from. We're an established company, about 20 years old, and we have 70 plus full-time employees. And where our total occupation in this world is finding non-dilutive funding opportunities for companies that are looking to expand their R&D funding options. We have a 25 to 30% success rate per submission, and we'll talk a little bit more about our long-term model. But here we're talking about a 64% success rate with our multi-submission strategy and a long-term approach. And to date, we have amassed over 1.5 billion in awards and roughly 70 million annually. We have a success-oriented business model, and particularly when it comes to the opportunity we're talking about today, we see that because of the small window, we're expecting the successes to be much higher, because whatever company comes organized for this opportunity, they'll get there before the competition without any doubt, and the chances of receiving high level awards, as I just described to you, you saw the minimums there. Every one of these options is high level funding, which could propel your company to create that either MVP or next generation model that you're trying to fund, and you want to do it with a non-dilutive funding, which is not going to hurt your company long term. I'll talk a little bit about our business model. As we said, this isn't our typical business model. This is a very unique opportunity, and as a result, we're only going to be taking 10 companies to work with on this topic, as well as the biofuels topic that we mentioned before, because we want to maximize our chance of hitting high-level awards and bringing our clients big money. And I'll explain to you a little bit about how the one-shot submission is going to work with Eagle Point Funding. In order to help you through the pre-proposal, which I mentioned before, it's a necessary step in order to be accepted for a full proposal. It's going to cost $5,000 when working with Eagle Point. Once your company is accepted to give in a full proposal, we will quickly help you get it done. This full proposal is an important step. It involves building a budget, which includes all your R&D costs, instruments, materials, your R&D salaries of all the people that are involved in the project, as well as subcontractors, facilities and administrations. And it's also important here we help you with the actual building of the submission itself, including building in key milestones of where your technological roadmap is going to take you. This cost for the full proposal is $10,000. Because of the upfront cost, we are going to offer for anybody who wants to continue with us for the next 10 months. in other words, to complete a full year contract, we're going to offer that at just $9,000. We take, as I mentioned, because we have a success-oriented business model, we take 5% of the award. This we cap out when awards are upwards of $5 million at $250,000. So that if you receive an award of upwards of $5 million, which wasn't relevant for the previous awards that we mentioned in this particular broad agency announcement, but we'll cap ourselves at $250,000 should you receive more. Our standard relationship model is the final line that you see here in this slide. Usually we work with companies starting with a strategic assessment, where what we do is we find up to 10 opportunities which match your R&D. That is $5,000. The first round of submissions is $2,500 per month. The second round of submissions is also $2,500 per month, where we're taking 5% of the cut. I actually see a mistake in the slide. You see, as this opportunity was very hot at the time, I didn't get a chance to put it in, but the first round of submission takes 5 months at $12,500. So that's a mistake you see there. And the second round of submissions is $12,500, which is interesting here because what we're offering is we're offering the opportunity to actually pay $24,000 as opposed to $30,000 for a full year, while going still after this one-shot submission of this opportunity, which is hot right now with the Department of Energy. Should you and your company just want to go after this one-shot submission, the full cost is going to be $15,000, which you're going to pay in 2 segments, pre-proposal and full proposal. And should you want to continue with us, we're going to offer the next 10 months of work for just $9,000. So it's a very attractive deal. Our interest here is to win. As you see, our award fee is 5%. We want to work with innovative technologies, which are right on the state of the art. We're not looking for Me Too technologies. We're looking for really that revolutionary edge. And as a result, if you have that revolutionary technology, if you have something that answers any of the previous calls, you should reach out to us. I mentioned we're only going to be accepting 10 companies, and it's just because we want to maximize our chance for high-level awards while concentrating on those companies which have the best chance. So if you feel like your company is that, then I recommend you get in touch with me. I'll just skip to the last slide right now. You can use my Calendly to directly book it, or you can write to me at josh@eaglepointfunding.com. I'm just going to leave a minute or two. If you have any questions, you can put it in the question box. And as long as they're not company specific, I'm happy to answer it more on the general side. Any company specific questions, I'm happy to answer on a one-on-one basis. So I'll just give a second there while you're filling out the questions, your questions that you might have. I'm going to go on to talk about our upcoming webinars. We're also giving a webinar at the end of this month on May 30th on the topic of federal funding for cybersecurity R&D. That we're going to be focusing on the large budget which the federal government has allocated just for cybersecurity. We know the federal government has allocated $14.4 billion for cybersecurity, which includes contracts as well as R&D, but we're expecting the amount of money available for R&D to be in the billions of dollars. It's one of the hottest topics right now. And we're also going to be giving another webinar on June 13th, Funding Beyond SBIR, which is exploring the remaining 97% of funding opportunities. So if you don't have any questions, I'll leave the screen up just for a few minutes so you can jot down my details. You might have already received an email from Eagle Point Funding, and you're welcome to reply there, or you can book a call directly with us. I mentioned before the deadline. We're talking about a deadline which is no later than May 29th to give in that pre-proposal. And as a result, we're going to cut off our deadline of when we're accepting clients to work with by Wednesday next week. Thank you very much. I know this was short. I know this was hurried, but that's the reality of this opportunity. It's for people who are or companies that have the ability to make a quick decision in order to work towards a long-term health of their company and to find hopefully the multi-millions to fund their advanced technology solutions for vehicles. Thank you very much. Like I said, I'm Josh Baron, Director of Business Development, and I'm happy to hear from you should you would like to advance for your company. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.